Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Addicts Podcast, Season 3, Episode 13. My guest today is my friend John of Ghost Hunter Guys. John, we'll start out like we always do and just introduce yourself to everybody, and then we'll get rolling.
Yeah, I'm John. I'm the co-founder of the Ghost Hunter Guys out of Eastern Kentucky. Other co-founder, Robert Isaac. We formed this in 2008, and we've been going strong ever since then.
All right. So, for people who are wondering why we were on and then off and then on and off again, we was having StreamYard issues, which, that's always a thing. They want to charge you a whole lot of money, but then they want to have these technical difficulties. So let's get started and let's talk about. We already covered that, but this. What was the moment that made you realize that you weren't just interested? It was something that you were serious about pursuing.
It all happened when my father passed away, actually. I had a really difficult time handling it. I didn't want to accept it. You think your parents are invincible, honestly, You think that nothing could happen to them. And I guess I really needed to find out if there was something on the other side. And we have found out a lot. We have found a lot that there is definitely things out there, that's on the other side. So that for me is what really hooked me. And ever since I have just, been researching.
That kind of leads to the second question, the follow-up question on that. Your bio mentions that you started, from a personal loss. So how did that shape your approach to the field?
Taking it slowly from a personal loss, because I really didn't know what I was getting into. Me and Robert, we did it on our own. And then we met people that helped us. You can read as much literature as you want to and documentaries and watch documentaries as you want to and read all these books and stuff. But until you let me retract that. Once you start getting into it and dabbling into it, it's a whole different ballgame from reading and to watching. And so that it really fueled my fire even more to even pursue it. And there's some things out there that I still don't understand, and I probably won't understand until that day comes when I'm not here no more, So it's a very tricky thing that you got to watch out for on some of these investigations that you do. But for me, it's all about wanting to do more research, why they're still here, and I guess we will never find out, honestly, until we get there ourselves.
I agree with that completely. I say that all the time. We won't have all the answers until we pass on and move on. So Do you feel through your research and your investigations that you have gotten closer to answering your original question of is there something beyond this world?
Absolutely, Kent. I mean, absolutely. When you ask a question, you get a direct response, or you ask a question to have it to touch a piece of equipment, and you say, okay, I want you to touch it 2 times. I want you to touch this piece of equipment and this piece of equipment. And it does it. And you get that response. It's like, how can you say, oh, that's nothing? That's just a fluke, There has to be something else. There's a gnat flew by it or a moth or whatever. No, come on, man. You get those direct responses. It's kind of hard to sit there and go, well, I can't see you, but you can see me. It's a cool thing, but it's also a very uneasy feeling too.
Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, you're from Eastern Kentucky and I'm from Western Kentucky. We've actually been friends for a while. And this is the first time we've sat down and done a podcast together, and we still haven't investigated together yet. But I hope to, if your schedule works out, I hope to get that checked off our list this year. If not this year, next year. I got some ideas about places that I want to talk to you about, but we'll do that off camera. But I mentioned the Kentucky. I mentioned the Kentucky connection because we've done several of the same locations. Obviously, being in Kentucky, and one of my favorite locations, and I'm sure it's one of your favorite locations too, is Octagon Hall, Franklin, and talk about evidence that you can't dismiss. So I was at Octagon Hall, and I've been there a couple times, 4 times actually. But the last time I was there, we were down in the basement, where they made the family library. We were down in that room. We were doing just a regular EVP session where something told me to look up. And when I looked up, I saw an apparition of a little girl. And usually when you get an apparition, it's usually real fast and then they disappear. This one actually stayed there for 28 seconds. And she not only stood there, she was pacing in front of the steps. I even caught it on video for 28 seconds. And that's one of those moments, that's not just a gnat. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, those are the kind of moments we love. You know what I'm saying?
The reason why I'm smiling so big is I've got a feeling that's Lily. That's the little girl named Lily down there. She's playful. She's intriguing. She will interact with you. She hangs around those stairs at the bottom, and she says that's her safe place. We took a cat ball downstairs the first time we were there, and she did not stop playing with it. And she would answer questions through that cat ball, which I thought was amazing. And she was there a lot with us, and it's weird because she's actually came through on some other investigations that we've done during the Estes method. She came through and backed this other entity off that was, I don't know if he's trying to be malicious or whatever, but just maybe, I don't know, trying to act like he's bad or it's bad, but it wasn't, And then when she came through, the whole area just like lit up. I mean, darkness just went back to light. It's wild. Never experienced anything like that before in my life, but Lily is a little girl there.
Those are the moments that we. Those are those moments that we, we love. We love those. We want to get that hard evidence that the skeptics can't just say, "Oh, that's just whatever." Another one that I got, which is probably the best EVP I ever got, was the Anderson Hotel there in Lawrenceburg. When you could investigate it, we investigated and we was upstairs when we were getting ready to switch. I had enough people with me on my team on that investigation that we divided up into 2 teams, and we were getting ready to switch. Me and Dennis was going to come downstairs, and the girls were going to go upstairs. And the main spirit upstairs is a very malicious spirit. He lived there, and he also ran prostitutes in and out of there. And he killed himself by suicide, and drank himself to the point that he hung himself. And so we're getting ready to switch, and my niece is on my team, and at that time she was 19, so she decided to use the prostitute angle to get communication going. So as she comes up the stairs, her exact words was, "I'm 19 and cute. Can I get a job?" And we got a response immediately in a guy's voice, and the response was $50 and free room.
Jeez.
And like you said, that's not by chance. That's intelligent communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tease her all the time. We tease her all the time now. Whenever she has bad luck, we tell her it's because she was offered the job by the ghost and she didn't take it. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your investigation style. How do you describe your investigation style?
We try to come at an angle more scientifically. We try to look at the temperature before the investigation, the moon phase, the barometric pressure, winds, all that stuff. And then, our devices, we use like EMF detectors, of course, like everybody else, but we don't use K2s because K2s are not shielded. A gnat fart could light it up, so we don't use K2s. I hate K2s. But hey, if that's what you have, hey, whatever. To each their own. Um, we use an EDI meter. We also have a device called the APL, which is the atmospheric phenomenon logger. It detects pressure, humidity. Um, it detects motion, vibration, and that device, and we've got many of them, has paid off a lot. It's caught stuff that I never imagined that we'd get. And then we try to like use some of the oddball pieces of equipment out there. I mean, we've used Spirit Talker, we've used Ghost Tube just for giggles, just to see if we get anything. But when you use stuff EMF wise, and you get responses that way, it's hard to say that's not legit. It's hard to, like the last place, not last place, but the location we was at before. The night house. We was at the Broadwell Funeral Home, and we was on the third floor. The girls were down in the basement. No, second floor. Then the first floor, then the basement. That's right. And we were getting tripwire hits at the same time. And there's no way that should happen when you're like, you got a floor between you two. So exactly. We try to come off of it that we try to come off scientifically more that way than, and we try to figure out what's causing, like just because something falls, it's like, well, did anybody move? Did anybody shift? Did anybody cough? Whatever. Knocks. We had knocks I can't explain at the Broadwell Funeral Home, and we would knock, it would knock back. And I know there's traffic going by, and I know my surroundings. It was not vehicles, because you could tell the difference between that. But that's just how we do it. We try to figure out anything and everything. We don't just say it's paranormal just because we hear it. Disembodied voices is a different story when everybody's quiet and you hear it come through. What,
Yeah, we're pretty well the same way. We like to do everything from the scientific standpoint, and we still do the old school stuff too. I used to have it on our Facebook page. It used to say that we use the old school techniques with the new school technology, but we definitely scientific. And the oddball pieces of equipment, we use some of those, but when I use those, I'll use it with another piece of equipment. So I'll use, like, if I'm using Ghost Tube, I'll use it with a piece of equipment that's already proven to me. And you mentioned that you hate the K2. I'm not a K2 fan either. I know almost everybody's got a K2 meter in the thing, and that's because Jason and Grant made them popular. But I mean, that's because they already had it, so that's what they used. But yeah, I prefer more concrete evidence. I'm also not a big fan of the obelisks. I know a lot of people do. I actually use the Paratech. It's actually my favorite piece of ITC.
But you know what though?
And even using that,
it's like equipment is so expensive. So like people. I get people buying the K2, and I have no problem with that at all whatsoever, because it's like what you can afford is what you can afford. But my suggestion is, if everybody uses that K2, turn your phones off, put them on airplane mode, get away from it.
Exactly.
Stand like 20 feet from it and see what happens. And make sure that it is not on some type of on the floor where there's a piece of wire going through that don't have conduit on it. make sure you find that
Right.
out. And then I could
Yep.
say, all right, then we do have possible evidence right there with the K2.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not anti K2. I've been investigating 34 years now. I've only actually had a K2 be useful to me once, but I'm not anti it. I mean, like you said, it's whatever you can afford. And
Exactly.
all
Right.
equipment works. All equipment works if you work it right. Like you said, you have to know the false positives. You have to know, how it works in each situation. I got a friend that I investigate with quite often, and he'll put like three K2 meters together. He's like, so if one gets a negative hit, all three of us are gonna get a negative hit. He does the same thing with like a REM pod. I have a my REM. We were at a place in Missouri called the Brooks Estate, and my REM pod started just going off. So well, let's put mine over there too, and make sure it's actually something, and not just like you said, like a wire or whatever. So that's what you got to do. You have to. I like when you have multiple pieces of equipment that agree with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
like I said, I use the Paratech, but when I use the Paratech, I also use a yes no device with it. And then if they you know if they get close to the same thing, then I might have something. So yeah, and I mean I'm not, and talk about phone apps. We mentioned those briefly. I'm not anti phone app either. I don't use them personally, but I have people on
Mm-hmm.
my team that use them. There's
Right.
things a phone app can never do. A phone app cannot be EMF detector because it gives off on its own. So it cannot do that. But other things, your phones are basically mini computers nowadays. So why not? If they're programmed right, why couldn't they be useful?
And I'd like to do this too.
So
GhostTube. I like GhostTube, and I like GhostTube better than I do Spirit Talker. What I like to do is, like, say, four of us turn GhostTube on and see if they all put a sentence together and see what it comes out with. And it's like, these devices like that, you're putting a puzzle piece together. So anything it spits out, you've got to go through. It's like a needle in a haystack. You have to go
exactly.
through
I
and
mean,
you have to figure out what's
as
what.
long as
Does
you
that
have,
name match or what? Yeah.
you know, long, long as you're consistent, long as you have a consistency when you're using stuff like that, that way you can read out what's garbage and what may be something. That's the key as far as I'm concerned on stuff like that. And you mentioned the Bordwell Funeral Home earlier. Like I said, we've been friends for a while, so obviously I've seen where you guys get to do public investigations there sometimes. I mean, obviously I don't do public investigations anymore, but I would like to. I would like to investigate there. Maybe my team and your team just starts going there together. I would like to do that because that is on my list of places to investigate.
Yeah. I mean, we're down with it for sure. And I never thought this time around we would be this busy as much as we are. And man, it's just like a door is open this time. We've had people reach out to do public ghost hunts, which we're doing it right now to help us with getting to go to investigations. Because these places ain't cheap, and I understand why they have to charge because they have to keep uptake on it, and I get that. And then plus we're doing our
Exactly.
Paracon. We're doing our Paracon, so we're just trying to keep
Yeah.
raising money for that. So it's a win-win for everybody. Tourism and us, thanks to Paintsville Tourism, who allows us to do a lot of stuff with them, and thank God for them because it's a win-win situation for both. And not only are we helping them, they're helping us, and we want to bring people into the Paintsville to enjoy the history and the buildings, stuff like that. Not just paranormal, but just the overall history of the location and area. That's what we want.
Exactly. And yeah, I'm crazy busy right now too. But unfortunately, I'm not as young as I used to be, so I'm getting ready to have knee surgery. so I'm going to have to slow down for about 2 months. But and but I had to make a conscious decision because, like you just said, I have so much going on now. So I'm like, well, if I have the surgery now, I'll miss this and this and this, but I'll be back for this and this and this. So I kind of had to
Right.
weigh, the positive versus the negative because like I have, I'm going to the Bill Witch, in August, and obviously
Oh,
I don't want
wow.
to miss that. I'm like, well, I may have to miss those. I may have to miss Old South Pittsburgh. But I was like, I've been to Old South Pittsburgh before. I was like, I love it. It's one of my favorite locations, but I've not been to Bill Witch. So if I have to miss one or the other, you know what I'm saying? And that's just like, I told you the other day that I was planning on coming up to your Paracon, but that's going to be during my recovery period. So I'm going to have to miss this year. But next year, if you guys have it again, not only will I be there, if you want me to, next year I'll even come and speak. I'll have my second book out by then, and I'll have my project that we was talking about earlier. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm not ready to reveal it to everybody yet. But the project that I mentioned earlier, that will be filming by then. So I'll be glad to be part of your event. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when we started
Let's
this
get back.
Paracon, when we started this Paracon, me and my buddy Jeremiah, who was the tourism director of Paintsville at the time, and he passed away suddenly in January. This was kind of my and his ideal, and he was talking about a lot, and I was like, "Man, do you really want to do this?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Positive." He's like, "Do you want to do it?" I said, "Yeah, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and this is something that we want to build on every year. We want to make it affordable for people to come in. We want to make it, worth their while to come in for sure, to meet these people, listen to their lectures, show their proof, things like that, because there's things out there that used to be taboo that nobody would talk about or let you into, and now it's like it's a common thing. So we want to keep going at this every year.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with me. I mean, I'm on my 4th year of my Paracon, and that's my goal. My goal is I don't want to lose money, but I'm not in it really to make money. I'm in it to educate the public. So if we keep it affordable, we do. This year, I did have to raise prices this year, but this year, my raising prices is still $15 for a come and go wristband all day. So and I've been doing this long enough that I have friends, and my friends come to my event. So that's how I get people like Aaron G. Thompson, and that's how I get people like Josh Morris, and that's how I get Outlaw Paranormal. It's not that I'm showing out money. It's just that they see my vision, so they want to be part of that. And like we mentioned the other day, you guys definitely have a standing invitation to come be part of it too. So, and
we appreciate that.
And
we really do.
And so let's get back to investigation style. So, what's something you guys do during an investigation that you think most teams overlook?
We sit there and shut up. Well, yeah, we just let the building come to us. At some points, we just sat there and we just listen and we let our equipment run. And that's what we do.
An important one. But that's important. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
if I'm going to answer this question myself, I think one thing Ken 10 Paranormal does is we do baseline readings at every location. So we'll get a baseline EMF, we'll get a baseline temperature, we'll do a baseline SLS. Just that necessarily proves anything, but if there's a variable, at least you can measure it. At least that gives you something to look at.
And that should be your first thing. Any paranormal team out there that listens to this interview, that should be your very first thing that you do. After you do your interview, get your history down, do a baseline EMF. Doesn't matter if you do anything else, get your baseline EMF, every inch of that house, location where you're at, does not matter. Go do it. No matter how long it takes you. Get that baseline, and you know that you can say, like, okay, an hour from so you get a spike of 1.5 and your baseline is 0.1 or 2. You know, that right there tells you've got a spike somewhere, or just wherever you're at in
Right.
your location. So, and you can bounce off that, and we do that's our number one thing. If we do the history and things like that, we do a baseline just to make sure that we're not, something else not kicked up wire wise or anything.
Right. I was doing a residential, so not a lot of details about it because residentials are just for us and the families, not But when we were doing the walkthrough, when we were doing the baseline, when when I was doing the baseline, for some reason the Wi-Fi was kicking it off like unreal numbers. So I was like, we're going to have to disconnect the Wi-Fi while we're doing this. I mean, it was kicking like an 84.
Yeah.
Robert said that I am anti-public events. I'm not anti-public events. Okay, so I want to explain this. I don't do public events because I if you have too many people, it messes with my evidence. So I don't do public events. I used to host one. For 4 years I did one in Paducah at the Hotel Metropolitan, and I think it's great for people who are just getting into paranormal or who just have an interest. I think it's great for those people. Go for it. But I just, for me, I would rather be in a controlled investigation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not anti anything. I'm anti faking. That I'm anti, and I'm anti drama. But I'm not anti anything else.
Absolutely.
And then Rob said Paracons are in a rough shape this year. Yeah, they are in a pretty rough shape. I'll agree with that. But I think it's a lot of that. I think a lot of that is because some previous years, Paracons have got where there's a lot of drama, and you can only see the pair of celebrities so many times. So I don't worry about that. I just get people in there to present information because what I explain to people all the time, and you tell me if you agree with me on this, John. I tell people all the time that we have to have the public come to our events, but for investigators, a Paracon is really a convention. We go there to socialize. We go there maybe to learn new techniques. So for us, it really is a convention.
Yeah, I agree. And then you've got some that say, "Well, I'm not going to be there because somebody else is going to be there." It's just stop.
It's just we have one pretty big celebrity who apparently, and I'm not going to mention his name because I don't get into all that, but apparently he tends to use Paracons as the swingers conventions.
Oh wow!
And I was told that firsthand. So that's interesting. But anyway, I mean, everybody's got something in their past. We just have to learn to work together. Unless you're molesting children or beating women, everything else, or murdering somebody, everything else we can get over. You know what I'm saying? So we can all learn from each other. So and nobody is more important than the next person. So get over your ego.
Yeah, for sure.
So what is the one piece of equipment that you trust the most? And what's one you're skeptical of? We already know the K2, but is there another one that you're skeptical of?
Jeez. The bells. Spirit bell, dead bell. That for sure. It just it just goes off too much. I mean, you can ask questions. Sometimes you'll get a response back, but I mean, how can you really say it's actually responding back to you when it sits there and dings?
Right.
And I there's a guy that makes them out of the UK named Andy Guy. He makes one called the Enviro Bell, which I love. We've had it places to where it's not even went off compared to another bell that we use, and I'm just like, well, some of the stuff we don't use um, because of that simple fact. But the Enviro Bell, that's a very good one. But Spirit Bell, I call it Spirit Bell, but Dead Bell, not anymore because ours died actually. So I don't even use it. The bells for sure. That type of bell for me.
So what's one piece of equipment? What's one piece of equipment?
Sorry, my
There you
phone.
go.
I hate to
What's one
strike
piece of
while
equipment? What's the one piece of equipment you trust the most? What's your go-to piece of equipment?
I like my the tri-field or shit the tripwire. Tripwire.
I like the true. And I was
Cause
with a
go ahead.
no, you go ahead and finish your answer, and then I'll say what I was going to say.
A tripwire for me because I've asked it to respond back once for yes, twice for no. It's respond, and I've even asked it to light up all the lights. It's done that. I've even asked it to take it to different colors. It's done that. I've even asked it to take it to my favorite color, and it lit up the lights to my favorite color. I've even asked it to light the light up to where somebody's standing at. It's done that. That to me, that device does not. If it don't make my equipment case, then something's wrong because that thing to me is legit in my book. Now you'll get some detections and stuff like that when you're on a like I said something that's not covered by conduit or something like that on the floor, but um, when you have it to go different colors that you ask it to and it responds in those colors and the answering yes or no once or yes twice or no, that's my favorite piece of equipment honestly, other than just a regular recorder. That is my favorite piece of equipment.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of. I mean, a recorder is an essential piece of equipment. I mean, it's like we were talking about earlier. The equipment is expensive, and some of it's just junk. But the equipment is expensive. So when somebody joins my team, I tell them, I'm like, don't go out and just buy everything. I'm like, we have it you can use if you feel a need. I'm like, but I do require you to have a voice recorder, a flashlight, and a pen and paper. So, but talking about the tripwire, yeah, I love the tripwire. Uh, I actually, we should always be learning in this field. We should be learning from each other. And we were investigating the Glen House, the Cape Girardeau, with my friends, Night Vision Paranormal from Benton, and they took the tripwire while they were doing the Estes method, and they put the tripwire around the person with the headphones. And I've been doing that ever since. I was like, that's actually a really cool idea. So yeah, tripwire is a good piece of equipment. I agree.
We've never
What's
done it
one
for
investigation?
we've never done it for put the tripwire around
Yeah,
somebody during the SS method, so it's a good idea.
I never done it either. When I saw that, I was like, I'm going to start doing that, and I've been doing it since. Because just it just made sense because you're trying to open up communication. So if they trip off the tripwire while you're communicating with them, then you know that you really have somebody. So yeah. What's one investigation that really shook you? Something you couldn't explain even now.
Benham Theater, a couple years ago. It's a coal town community, and they still have the actual theater there that they used to use back in the time when they was using the area for coal, like a coal camp, coal homes, all that stuff. That was a community theater, and we were asking questions and doing our normal thing, and then a crazy enough, at that time we were trying the spirit talk rap just, for giggles and see what happens. And it said gaining more energy. And I was like, okay. I said, Robert's like, do we need to take a break to allow you to gain more energy? And we said, answer yes or no on the EPOP box. Once for yes or green for yes, red for no. And then it answers green for yes. I said, well, let's just take it for a grain of salt and see what happens. Let's take a break. So we took a break for about 30 minutes and came back in. I go up to the main front of the stage and sit. I go live on our Facebook page, and I got this weird feeling on my right side like something was about to happen. And I said, do you still want people to come here and talk to you? I said, can you give me a sign? Can you let me know? And about that time, man, I turned my head this way to look over to the left. And I turned back around, and about that time, there's this big ball, just light, just explodes in my face. Huge bright light explodes in my face. I thought it was something from the phone, but it wasn't from the phone because it's on 4 different cameras. And I thought it could have been something else. Robert thought it was something like the emergency light, like the floodlights on the wall of the theater. It wasn't them. We thought it was something under the stage. The sheriff that let us in there, he came over. He looked under the stage, and he's like, boys, I don't want to tell you. He's like, there's nothing under the stage here because the stage is so small. I couldn't fit back there. Robert couldn't fit. An adult could not fit back there at all under that stage. So we don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you other than it was something paranormal because we can't explain it. We could not figure out what it was. And we tried to go back and watch the camera and figured out if it's something with a light exposure on the camera, one of the bulbs on the IR lights, or just something just randomly to figure it out. Nothing. But supposedly, another individual that we asked just basically shrugged it off like, oh, yeah, that happens to us too. Like it's no big deal. I'm like, well, it's a big deal to us, So supposedly it happened to them too, but that light, man, is bright, very, very bright. That's one that I will never forget because that was that to me was like I never had that happen to me before in my life, never, at all. So I would say that's probably about the first, still my top 3 for sure. That one.
Yeah, I have one. I got 2 that I still hold on to, or 3, I guess. But one of them was really just more of so one of my favorite pieces of equipment is a thermal camera. I like a thermal camera because you can't fake it. You either get something or you don't. So we was at this abandoned hospital. It had been abandoned since 1988. So obviously there's no anything. And we were up on the 3rd floor, and everybody had left the floor except for me, Dennis, and Denise. So I took a picture with a thermal camera, and of course you get Dennis's heat signature and Denise's heat signature, but then there's another heat signature that looks like a 6'2", 6'3", something standing in between them.
Oh, wow.
So that's a good piece of evidence. The other one I got was going back to the Anderson Hotel there in Lawrenceburg. Their claim to get you to come in is the ghost bite. Well, I wanted to call bullshit on that because at that time I had been investigating for 32 years, and I had seen a lot of things. I had been pushed, I've been scratched, I've had things thrown at me, but actually biting somebody takes a lot of energy. One thing I tell people about the Anderson Hotel is they actually want it to be that violently haunted. So that kind of changes everything. But I was we had just started investigating, and I was downstairs in the bloodstained bathtub, and I was asking questions, blah, blah, blah. So my rule is if a spirit tells me to get out, on the 3rd time they tell me to get out, I move to the next room.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually we got to the 3rd get out. So I go to get up, and of course this is an old-fashioned bathtub with a core feet, that kind of bathtub. And I'm a big guy, so I'm pulling myself out of the bathtub. And as I pull myself out of the bathtub, I feel what feels like a really deep Indian burn on my calf. It did not feel like a bite. It felt like an Indian burn. Well, when we got to a makeshift base, and when we had light and we looked down there, I had what looked like a double bite on my calf.
Oh wow.
I actually tattooed it on my calf. I had it tattooed exactly over the bite, so it looks exactly like it. So I always have it with me. That's how much that moment shook me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
I
yeah.
won't say
Yeah, for
scared me
sure.
because I've been doing this too long to be scared, but it
Yeah.
did shake me. It made me realize I was dealing with a malicious spirit more than I was a friendly spirit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the content side. So you guys are investigators and content creators. How do you balance being authentic but still making someone want to watch your video?
As far as like content, I seriously need to go and put more stuff out on our YouTube page. It's what I guess we do compared to some out there is going to be extremely boring because it's an actual investigation where you sit there and you
Exactly.
just like ask questions and stuff don't jump, and you know that's what I'm afraid of. People's going to get bored with it, but that's just a fact of the matter. That's the real deal. Paranormal investigation is boring, but it's fun at the same time. Um,
Yeah, I tell
as
people it's
far
like fishing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you got to throw it. Yeah, that's why we got different types of equipment. That's why you throw different types of equipment. It's like throwing different lures out, different baits. Um, so yeah, but there's certain things that we post on our TikTok page. We don't, we don't take like everything and post it. Um, but it's hard to balance content creating versus just doing an investigation for yourself. And I love doing it just for ourselves, but I know a lot of people want to watch our stuff. That's why we do a lot of lives, just for a little while, just so people can watch us. But and for me, editing is horrible because I don't know whether to trim what fat I need to trim, where I need to clip it off at, things like that. That I'm horrible at that. But mostly,
Yeah,
I like the history factor of it. I would like to just maybe just do the history factor of the locations and just put that up instead of the full investigation. But I know everybody wants it all, so it's hard to balance, Kent. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it really is. It really is.
I mean, you're singing to the choir here, preaching to the choir. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the worst content creator in the world. I mean, we have a Facebook page, and like you said, it's probably boring. I'm like 3 investigations behind on posting videos, but sometimes things happen for a reason. One of the guys that we investigate with is actually a lot closer to you guys than he is me, but he wants to be part of my team, so he's like I call him a satellite member. So he investigates with us when he can, and he had been on the last 3 investigations with us, where he went to upload his evidence to send to me, and his computer crashed.
Oh
So
no.
finally, he contacted me today. Finally he contacted me today. And he's like, Kent, he's like, I finally got everything uploaded. I got a new computer. He's like, I'm sending you the the zip drive. He's like, just keep
Yeah.
it. He's like, so you have it. So I take that as why we're behind, and but I was explained by, and I suck at the editing too. Matter of fact, my son, who's a senior in high school, he takes care of the editing for me because I suck. And but yeah, like you said, like yeah, I ain't even gonna lie. And and like you said, my content would probably be boring to people, but like my good friend Sarah, from Get Hana, explained when I had them on the show, the people that are going to tune into like Sam and Kobe or Paranormal Theory, and those people they tune in to be entertained. The people that's going
Right.
to tune in to like mine or yours, they're tuning in to see what it's really like. So our
Yeah.
audience is different than that, you know. And I don't even consider the name I mentioned, the first name I mentioned. I don't even consider them paranormal investigators. I consider them paranormal entertainers.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I call them the Spice Girls of the paranormal field, because they're just, I don't care, because they're just worried about getting likes and entertaining people. They're not worried about substance. And same thing with the Spice Girls. They wasn't worried about they wasn't worried about substance. They were just worried about entertaining and making fans. So it fits to me. So so that brings me to a question that I asked every episode in season 1, but now I only ask the people that I respect and I want their honest opinion. And you fall into that category, John. So this is the question.
All right.
How do you think the parapop culture, that's my word, the parapop culture, how do you think the parapop culture has affected the field both positively and negatively?
False accusations. One, because on stuff that they capture, saying everything's demonic, and it's not. I've yet to see anything demonic. I've been doing this for 18 years, so it doesn't mean I've been to the right spots or anything. Just I haven't seen anything to that factor. I guess not respecting locations, respecting the history, positively, on the positive side though, they're at these locations and people's going to come to it. But I feel like they feed their expectations so high that when they get there, if they don't get anything, they're going to be very, very disappointed, let down, and say negative things about the location. When we all know for a fact that paranormal is just a light switch. We can't turn it off and on. It happens when it happens, and it's like whatever you pay is your lottery ticket. You it's a chance you take. It's like you're buying a lottery ticket. So there's positives, and there, like you said, there's positive and negatives. Positive, you get people to come into the location. Negatively though, they could build their expectations so high that they get disappointed and like they never come back. See, like the first time I went to Waverly Hills, this is just what happened to me. I was so gung-ho about going to Waverly Hills. I mean, from what I read when I was a kid to seeing stuff on TV, my mind was so racing that, oh man, this happens. Got in there, nothing. I love Waverly Hills, don't get me wrong. We're going back this Thursday to Waverly. But
that was Bobby Mackey's for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, I've heard a lot of people say Bobby Mackey's was awesome. I never know.
Yeah, looking back now, in my mind, I can understand why would it be all this stuff they make it out to be. There's no reason for it. And then, but maybe they just didn't want to talk to me. I've been in this field for 36 years, and everybody else wanted to talk to me, but maybe they just didn't want to talk to me. Maybe it was me. But I agree with you completely on all your points. I just went to my next to last investigation was at the historic Rosemont in Gatlin, Tennessee. Gallatin, however you pronounce it. And so when I was writing the post on it, I always try to include like history, and if it had been on a show, I mentioned that. Not that I care about that, but the public does, so I try to mention that. So I mentioned that this one show had mentioned that there was a malicious spirit there to try to make people leave, and when I posted that, the caretaker of the property messaged me, and she's like, there's no such thing here. She's like, I don't care about you putting that out there. She's like, I just don't want you to be disappointed when you get here and there's not something like that here. So then So I was talking to her. She asked me where I got that from, and I told her the TV show I got it from and the team that investigated. And she's like, "Oh, that explains it." She's like, "We no longer allow them here, because they were
Oh,
planting stuff and faking stuff." So so yeah, that's the negative. The positive to me is uh, it allows it. Well, we're able to talk more about it now. When I first got started back in 1992 is when I became serious about it. When I first started, especially being from Western Kentucky, I mean, you'll relate to this. Western Kentucky is not only the Bible Belt, it's like the capital of the Bible Belt. I think we got more churches than people, So, and I didn't have anybody to help me, so like you said, I did research and all that stuff. And then I was actually told when I was 12 years old, uh, because of my gifts I have, I was told by this lady that I was a tool of the devil and I was going to hell. This 60-year-old black woman in a hospital. And I was like, thank you for that. So you don't tell a kid that no matter what. But anyway, so now I'm still here in Western Kentucky. So now if I'll be at Walmart and I'll be wearing my shirt or whatever, and I still get some of the blah blah blah. But now I mostly get or whatever, and they're like, and then they're like, oh, my grandmother's place is haunted or whatever. So now you can talk about it. So to me, that's the positive. So we're almost out
yeah.
of time. So let me get a few more questions in. So I like this one. So we're going to do this one. After all these years of investigating, is there something you've changed your mind about in the paranormal?
Investigating tactics for sure. Because when we first started, all we had was just a video camera, a high 8 video camera, little tapes, little handheld one, and I was
Okay,
like,
we have technical difficulties here. Hold on.
"You got me now."
What is going on? Oh,
You
there
got
we
me,
go.
Kent.
Are you back? Yeah,
Yeah,
but I got you now. I don't know
uh,
whether that was yeah, but we got you back. So all right, so
um,
a few more questions and then we'll go get off it.
all right.
So
You
next
want me?
question is, what
Yeah.
advice? What advice would you give someone just getting started?
Wow. Make sure that you really want to do this. Make sure this is something that you want to, research and find out the truth. And, some people make it a hobby. Some people make it a lifelong journey to research this and figure out what's what and what's not. But definitely make sure this is something that you want to do, because it will, certain locations will bring you to your knees on the hours and stuff that you have to put in to figure out what is legit and what is not.
Exactly. So last question is the easy one. Is not really a question. It's just more. This is your time to tell everybody how to find the ghost hunting guys, what you guys have coming up. Plug the Paracon again, and then we'll let you go.
You can find us on Facebook. Just look up Ghost Hunter Guys. You can find us on TikTok, where we're live all the time, just about. You can find us there at Ghost_Hunter_Guys. And yeah, we have our Paracon that is on June 27th, Saturday, June 27th. Tickets are $25. That's all day admission from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we're going to have lectures, great guests, things like that. So come out, hang out with us, check out new equipment everybody's going to be bringing, uh, meet all the individuals that's going to be there. It's going to be a good time. Just a day of education, pretty much. Like, if you have questions, whatever, just come out. If you're curious about stuff, come out. There's going to be people there from cryptozoologists to paranormal to psychic mediums, all that good stuff. So, come out, hang out with us. And it's for a good cause.
Yeah,
we're going to do this next year.
And next year I'll be there, and I'll be there this year if it was for the knee surgery. But I don't think they'll clear me just to go to Paintsville.
That's all
and
right,
I've seen the list.
That's all right.
I've seen the list of guests, and it is a good event. You guys definitely need to check it out. And like you said, I'm going to plug mine a little faster than we'll get over. I'm excited this year because for the first time we actually have a UFO guy. We actually have Huntington Strange Travels. Michael Huntington is actually going to be at ours this year. He's actually only from Cape, so he's just from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. So he's just really up the road from me. So I'm excited he's going to be there. And of course we're going. We have a cryptozoologist again this year, and and that's what it's about: is educating people, hanging out, learning from each other. So check out Ghost Hunter Guys on YouTube, TikTok, and everything. John, thank you for being on this year. Hold on, we got one more. We apparently got a comment. 8 p.m. Yes, I know it's 8 p.m. I got, and I'm shutting off now. So, thank you, and we will talk to everybody next time.
Thank you, Kent.